A very good morning. We will be beginning with the Dr. N. Madanagopalan Memorial Oration. For the same, may I please request our chairpersons, Dr. R.K. Dhiman, President INASL, and Dr. Ajay Duseja, Secretary INASL, and also the organizing chairperson for INASL 2025, to please chair this session.
Good morning. So, this is the time for Dr. Ed Madan Gopalan Memorial Oration. Born on 25th October 1932, Professor N. Madan Gopalan, known to as NMG to his colleagues and students, obtained his MBBS degree in 1955 from Stanley Medical College, winning medals, prizes, and certificates of honors in most of the subjects and achieved the first rank in the University of Madras. He passed MD in medicine in 1959 and received MRCP with elementary diseases as a special subject in 1960. In the UK, he was trained by Doyens in the field, including Sir Francis Savory Jones. On returning to India, brimming with the confidence, the rising son of the South joined the parent department of medicine at Government General Hospital, Madras, and under the guidance of his mentor, Professor Ratnavelu Subramaniam, the Department of Gastroenterology was established for the first time in Madras Medical College in 1971. He continued to head the department until August 1986. During his tenure, he nurtured the department with untiring, unsparing dedication, breathing life into the nascent specialty, grooming the department into a premier national academic center. In 1986, Dr. Madan Gopalan handed over a well established center to his students, started yet another department of digestive health and diseases at Government Peripheral Hospital, Anna Nagar. Within a short period of the time, by his untiring efforts, leaving no stone unturned, Dr. Madan Gopalan made Anna Nagar Principal Hospital the mecca of patients with GI problems and developed an excellent team. On superannuation, he was appointed as the director of Sri Ramchandra Medical College Hospital and served in this post for a year. Subsequently, he was appointed as Emeritus Professor of Tamil Nadu, Dr. MGR Medical University from 1994 until his demise. Apart from teaching, Dr. Madan Gopalan's passion for research knew no bounds. The symphysis of the passion for the research included viral hepatitis, SCC, subacute failure, coarctation of infant vera cava, role of adulterants of edible oil and the leaves as a carcinogens for the SCC. The Indian Society of the Gastroenterology elected him unanimously as its president in 1975 and later in 1988. He was elected to the post of the president of the Indian Association of the Study and Liver Disease. His services expertise were liberally used to planning the structure of the curriculum of the National Academy of Medical Services, National Board of Examination, task force meetings, etc. Some of his very close associates included Professor V.I. Mathan, Professor B.N. Tandon, Professor N.C. Nayak, Professor Solomon Victor, Colonel Krishner. Professor V.I. Mathan once said, far more than erudition, what impressed me was his concern that the best in his students should be brought out. So, several people received this prestigious award, and for the first time in 2010, it was given to the Andrew Burrows, then Vijay Shah, Dr. Chawla, Dr. Rakesh Agarwal, myself, Dr. Saraswat, Dr. Sareen, Dr. Acharya, many more, and this time it is being given to the Professor Anup Saraya. Dr. Ajay.
Good morning, everyone. So, this is now my proud privilege to introduce the orator for Dr. Madan Gopalan Memorial Oration in INASL 2025. And the orator is Professor Anup Saraya. Professor Anup Saraya is a medical academician, clinician, researcher, and a social activist with a career spanning over 40 years uh, in the field of gastroenterology, hepatopancreatobiliary diseases, and clinical nutrition. Currently, he's serving as professor of hepatology and head of clinical nutrition at the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences, New Delhi, after superannuating as senior professor and head of the Department of Gastroenterology and Human Nutrition unit at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi in December 2023. He completed his MBBS and MD in medicine from GSVM Medical College, Kanpur, in the year 1986, and later earned his DM in gastroenterology from GB Pant Hospital, University of Delhi, along with a DNB in the same specialty from the National Board of Examinations. He has worked in various capacities in the Department of Gastroenterology and Human Nutrition at AIMS, New Delhi, where he made significant contribution to medical education and research, having supervised more than 50 DM and PhD theses. As a researcher, he has published over 370 peer reviewed articles across national and international journals, and he has an H index of 40. He's authored two books on public health entitled Health Beyond Medicine, Some Reflections on Sociology and Politics of Health. And his topic today is almost related to that. Thank you. His major research areas include in the specialty of hepatology, pancreatobiliary diseases, clinical nutrition, and public health. In addition to his academic and clinical accomplishments, he is also a well known human rights activist. Deeply committed to public welfare, he has consistently raised his voice against anti people policies, especially against commercialization of health and education, and exposed corruption at high places. His work has been recognized through multiple honors. He's also the Master of Indian Society of Gastroenterology and Fellow of INASL, a life member of several professional societies, ISG, NASL, APASL, LTSI, and all, and Indian Society of Public Health. Professor Saraya exemplifies the ideal of a physician scholar who uses his expertise not only to advance medical science but also to serve society at large. Let's welcome Professor Acharya for his oration. Please, sir. And the topic for the oration today he has chosen is Changing Health Paradigm and Role of Medical Academia. Professor Acharya, please. Professor Saraya, please. Thank you.
At the outset, I would like to thank INASL for giving me this opportunity to share my views, and especially in memory of a person who was my examiner in DNB. I'll start from this quote by Rudolf Virchow. He was a great scientist, and what he said that medicine is a social science and politics is nothing else but medicine on a larger scale. Medicine as a social science, as the science of human being, has the obligation to point out problems and to attempt their theoretical solution. And the physicians are the natural attorney of the poor. The social problem falls to a large extent within their jurisdiction, and medical education doesn't exist to provide students with a way of making a living, but to ensure the health of the community. As we know, the right to life is enshrined in the Constitution, right to life with dignity, and the International Covenants on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, 1996, under Article 12, recognize health as a fundamental right to which Indian government is signatory. State is supposed to be the chief guarantor and enabler for health services, but unfortunately, what is happening? State is withdrawing. Determinant of health and illnesses are rooted in socio-economic and political system, especially the production relations in the society, and poverty is an important determinant of illness, and also the outcome of therapy depends on that. So approach of dealing with health is not epidemiological, unfortunately. Rather, it is technocentric. We are focusing on the particular person, an individual, and the disease, and treating that disease without understanding the determinants of disease. And government is outsourcing health services and has become from a guarantor to purchaser of health services, and main thrust is on public insurance revenue generation. Healthcare financing through insurance can succeed only if the provisioning is adequate and a robust delivery mechanism is at place. So, what is this changing health paradigm? We are replacing equity with efficiency, universalization with exclusion based on BPL card, and development to physical growth. So, what are the problems which are coming with that change? As far as patient care is concerned, there's low health budget, privatized and corporatized healthcare, user fee, due to that high out-of-pocket expenditure, paid clinic in government hospital, practice by government doctors is allowed, and least regulated private sector. In research sector, there's dwindling research budget and misplaced priorities in research. And in medical education, you must have seen the growth of private medical industry, which is totally unregulated, having very high fee. So the origin of user fee, in fact, it was at the dictate of World Bank and IMF way back in 1999, when we converted our short-term loan to long-term loan. It came as a prescription for third world to actually cut on social security, and they in fact suggested that implementation of user charge as government health facility as an instrument of mobilizing resources and introduction of insurance or other risk coverage. So, what is the efficacy of resource generation? Through user charges, actually in African countries, we are generating 5% of the total budgetary allocation. In China, it is little high, but India, it varies from, in various states, from 2.45 to 6.53%, and on an average, we generate 3 to 4% of the total budgetary allocation of the government for health sector. So my contention is that if those who are in a position to contribute in this kitty of 3% will monopolize the benefit of 100% of a state subsidy. Now coming to Kerala story, this paper when we wrote in 2010, what we have observed that was one state not having any user fee, and their health indices were as good as of US. So they were not charging. That time, their literacy was 94%, their infant mortality was 13, as compared to 7 in US, while the average in India, it was 65. How user charges affect a common man? In fact, in 2005, monthly per capita expenditure criteria for determining BPL status in India is 1060, and in rural area and in urban area 1284. And international poverty line says that $1 a day, that is 43 rupees. That time it was 43 rupees, and now it is a little more. But what happens? The poor spend 50 to 60% on earning on food. So he will be left with no money, at least, to spend on health. Now, in fact, we conducted this survey at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and what we realized that those patients who were coming to us, 69% of those who are supposed to have BPL card were not having BPL card, and 10%, around 6% were having more income, but they were having BPL card. So if we are deciding on the basis of BPL card, then there will be errors in inclusion and exclusion. The cost of treatment in private and public hospital, you know, there is a huge difference, and so poor cannot afford privatized healthcare. Then what is the impact of out-of-pocket expenditure? As we know that expenditure or illness is 40 to 90 times of per capita income in both in rural area, in urban area. So they will have an adverse effect. Then impact on employment, which we have observed that the employment has also, due to sickness, has gone down significantly, both in urban and rural area. And then what other changes have been noticed, that there was decreased expenditure on food, on education, on health, and the major setbacks were they sold their land, cattle, and education of girl child was the first casualty. Then coming to the impact of out-of-pocket expenditure on consumption pattern. And what we have noticed that intake of fruit, milk, its product, vegetable, meat, egg, oil, in fact, that has gone down significantly after a major illness in the family. Then this is an important cause of indebtedness also. They have taken loans, and source of finance was bank for upper middle class and money lender for poor people, and they were charging 2 to 3% per month. So it's a huge burden on them. Then I was lucky enough to be appointed as a chairman of a committee to review user fee by the government in 2017. And that time I got this opportunity to dig out data from the institute. And what I realized, that if we can waive off these charges, say charges up to 500 rupees, then, and we increase the rental of the private ward by 500 rupees, we end up generating more. So I recommended that there should not be any user fee. And fortunately, because all students, residents, and faculty, they cooperated with us, we fought against this, and somehow we succeeded in this era of commercialization. And the user fee has been abolished at Institute. And those three investigations, which are costly, even there also we have a option to waive off charges for poor. So that's a success story. So the history of user fee imposed on poor is a history of poor being excluded from the basic services. This is a quote from Jeffrey Sachs. And user fee for healthcare were put forward as a way to recover cost and discourage the excessive use of health services and the overconsumption of care. This never happens. Instead, user fee punishes the poor. This is a quote of Martin Chain, who was a WHO Director General. Then the insurance, which has been projected as the way out, actually it has been observed in the study when state is directly investing in the healthcare and when health is providing social health care, the out-of-pocket expenditure doesn't go down when we are giving insurance, social insurance, but when government is directly investing, it has gone down significantly. This is the data of Planning Commission, means Niti Aayog now. And what they say, that high out-of-pocket expenditure continue to push nearly 39 million people into poverty annually. And alternatively, health insurance has emerged as a financial option. But again, according to them, 40 crore individuals, they referred as missing middle, are devoid of any financial protection by any means. Now, when we compare the health expenditure in India versus other countries, you see, public health spending on health in India remain low compared to most of the countries. 3 times lower than Vietnam or Sri Lanka, 10 to 11 times lower than Thailand and Malaysia, 14 to 15 times lower than Brazil and South Africa and China. Then comparison of health financing between India and US. This is very important. In fact, in 2000, India was out of pocket. They were spending only 4.4%, and this remained unchanged after 10 years. While in the private expenditure on health was 91.8%, that has gone down to 87% in India. But in US, you see, their private expenditure on health was very low. So India is a socialist country, supposed to be a socialist, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And US is a beacon of entrepreneurial capitalism. but they seems to be more socialist than us. Then high income group countries of the world, they spend 11 to 16% on health. And even in South Asian countries, when we compare with other South Asian countries, our expenditure is very low. It is around 1.4 to 1.9%, given this report. Now, health infrastructure in India and other countries, we have 1/5 of the population with bed density of merely 15, that is half of global median of 29. And the situation is bad in rural area, this we all know. And we lag behind by other developing countries, Malaysia 19 bed, Vietnam 26 beds. There is paucity of healthcare personnel also. India trailed the global median of 16 physicians and 40 nurses, 7 physicians and 18 nurses per 10,000 population, and we lag behind Brazil, Malaysia, and other South Indian countries. Then, whatever doctors we have, in fact, if we compare, maximum number of doctors are working in various other countries, 75,455. Now, another important thing, in fact, in recent parliamentary question, government replied, how many posts are lying vacant? You will be surprised. There are very few posts in the public sector, and manpower is also not adequate. But on top of it, roughly 30 to 35% posts are lying vacant in various hospitals, including AIMS. Even at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I think 28% of faculty positions are lying vacant at the moment. So that is the situation. Again, this is RML hospital data, where posts are lying vacant. Now coming to medical education. On education, our expenditure is lower than the global weighted average, and it is 4.1%. Kothari Commission recommended minimum 6% on education. And you see the difference in China and India, from where China started and from where we started, and where China has reached and where we are at present. We are almost stagnating. This is the trend of last 5 years, expenditure on education and health. Education from 3.4 to 2.6, and health from 2.3 to 1.9%. And this we should see in terms of recommendation of Kothari Commission, which was given way back in 1964-66, that at least we should spend 6% on health and education. And this is another important fact, that whatever little money we are getting, we are not being able to utilize. And this is not possible due to wrong policies. It is the whole process of procurement is made so cumbersome. Then status of medical colleges in India. Now we know that medical education is highly privatized and unregulated, and there is growth of private medical colleges. There was a time when we were resident, we were opposing commercialization of medical education. A very powerful movement in 1986 when these private medical colleges came into existence in Karnataka, and from All India Federation we took up this issue and virtually forced Ramakrishna Hegde to include this in his election manifesto, that if voted to power, we will ban capitation fee colleges. So that was the movement of doctors. So we have to oppose all these trends. Now coming to research status. Again, our research budget is just 0.7% of GDP, and we are outright top one countries in research and development. Developing countries such as Cuba and Oman, they are also spending more than us. Of this, Indian Council of Medical Research is getting only 3.1%, and DBT around 3.1% or 3.4%. The rest of it is going in the defense and space, mostly. Then if we compare R&D spending vis-a-vis other countries, you will be surprised that our expenditure as compared to US is just 8.2% of what US is spending, 24% as what Japan is spending, 11.1% of what China is spending, and 35% of what Germany is spending. And this you see compared to China, how the divergence is increasing. This is the R&D budget of 10 years. Over 10 years, if we see, to begin with, in 2014-15, it was 0.7%, which has gone down to 0.69%. And if we adjust it with inflation, there is also no significant change in the research budget. Of that, roughly 60% goes to salary and overhead, while in other countries it is less than 30%. We are now coming to status. H index ranking, India is not amongst the top 20 nations. In top tier journal, we are not representing first 25% of the nations. And as far as patent generation is concerned, we are applying for 0.03 million, China 30 times more than us, and US 10 times more than us. As far as output is concerned, you can make out our output is very insignificant. In fact, quality of research is not up to the mark in our country. Then there is a mismatch. We are spending non-communicable disease, which constitute around 20%, receive only 4% of disease-specific funding, and injuries, 12%, they receive 2% of funding. Then this is a very good paper in which they have calculated the disease burden based on disability adjusted life year. These are projections by WHO, and placed it as a proxy measure of research effort by number of publication. And what we have realized that the publication in the field of major illnesses, around 23%, are only 6%, and cancer, which constitute 5%, their share of publication is 25%. Now, coming to the last part of my talk, Article 51A clearly says that it should be duty of every citizen of India to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and a spirit of inquiry and reform. So what should be the role of academia? The role of academia is to help a student to acquire knowledge and skill, inculcate scientific temper. This is what we are not doing. Which we are not doing. Opposition of privatization and commercialization of medical education and healthcare, and demand more budget for health, education, research, and development. Academia should raise the right questions, which we are not doing. Burden of disease and from which poor suffers, authenticity of data on disease burden, just an estimate on which interventions are based, what type of health packages should be there at all levels, drug pricing, and we should try to understand the politics of health. That is very important. Be a watchdog of bad health policies and speak up. We are keeping mum. Role of academia is to carry out research that is socially relevant, so that science should advance in service of the people. Doctors should adopt determinant of health-based approach rather than disease-based approach, and adopt a pragmatic solidarity with the marginalized. And now I must say that they should come out of their comfort zone, otherwise they are just status quoist and they will be branded as pacifist. There are doctors active in various people health movement, risking life, providing relief in conflict zone, but unfortunately they are not our role model. Nobody will remember Vinayak Sen, for that matter, or one person who has left institute and started a hospital in Ganyari, Dr. Yogesh Jain. They are not the role model. So we should recognize them, and they should be our role model. Unfortunately, doctors are averse to any organized effort, rather than they are condemned as unionists, which I was condemned all through my life. Study the impact on health in conflict zone has never been an area of interest of any doctor. So each doctor can decide his own role in the fight for healthcare for all. May be passive, he may be passive or indifferent, may be principally opposed to certain policies, may be active mentally and write about it, may be active physically in a movement against privatization or irrational policies or uh, this outsourcing, and they should demand universal health care, not universal health coverage. Because in the name of coverage, we are giving two type of health: one for poor, a primary level of care, as if poor never suffer from a big illness. So one for poor and one for rich. And this is relevant. This is probably the last slide. Science under dictatorship becomes subordinate to the guiding philosophy of dictatorship. This was said by a physician, Leo Alexander, who was the chief of counsel for war crime in Nuremberg. And nearly that time, nearly half of German doctors they joined Nazi party, double the profession of any other professionals. And on the contrary, there were different type of doctors. In Netherlands, 6,200 Dutch doctors, they refused to join that registry. So both type of people are there. Nobody raised voice against forced sterilization during emergency. We became active in the anti-emergency movement, and I realized how they were just succumb, and they were doing it at the dictate of government. They fudged post-mortem report in fake encounters, and the medical reports of under trials are actually used by government to incarcerate people. Of all the forms of inequality and injustice in healthcare, the most shocking and inhuman, this was said by Martin Luther King, and I will again end my lecture by showing this slide once again, that doctors, in fact, are the natural attorney of poor, and social problems falls in their jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for taking us through this changing health paradigm and the role of medical academia. It's customary not to have any questions or comments after the orations. We'll request you to please come in the center for the felicitation ceremony. Thank you.